What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And this video is a pretty disappointing video to make. I first found out about this potential news that Khamzat versus DDP may not, in fact, be the headliner for UFC 317 yesterday during a stream from MMA Joey. He actually made a video about this, and he cited as his source Kevin Iole. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about a purported injury that may be keeping Dricus Du Plessis out of UFC 317 after Dana White said during a presser that, hey, that would be cool, that would be good, or something like that, in response to a question of Khamzat versus DDP appearing as one of the either the main or the co-main for UFC 317. So it appears as though, according to Kevin Iole, which is unfortunate because Kevin Iole is quite a reliable source. So I say unfortunate because I'm inclined that he would not have to believe him, because I don't think he would have said anything did he not have some pretty serious evidence or proof. And unfortunately, I'm starting to think that this is the case. Also, Dana White had said last Saturday, a week ago, that he was likely going to be making an announcement on Tuesday. Tuesday has come and gone. So here we are. And yeah, I'm pretty devastated. So let's first take a look at this article, and I'll tell you exactly why I'm devastated. I'm going to show you another article after this, which I think will bolster this notion that this might be indeed the case. Well, it's technically unrelated, but it just goes to show that DDP will and has and will take his time and won't be pressured and won't be rushed by the UFC to come back early if he's not feeling up to it, because there was an equally high pressure situation not too long ago for UFC 300, which he passed on. And I have a feeling that Dana White and the UFC brass weren't too happy with that. But check this out. So from MMA Mania, they said a potential middleweight clash between current UFC champion, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here, between Dricus Du Plessis and undefeated sensation Khamzat Chimaev will have to wait following an apparent injury to DDP. The 185-pound clash was expected to headline UFC 317 for International Fight Week in June. I believe it's June 28th. This is according to veteran MMA journalist Kevin Iole. Once again, that's devastating to hear that it's Kevin Iole, only because Kevin Iole is such a reputable journalist. So this is only a compliment to Kevin Iole. I'm just devastated by this news. And he leaked the news on Friday. So again, MMA Joey reported this yesterday as well. Nothing has been completely confirmed as of yet, but the belief is that DDP versus Chimaev will be bumped to later in the year. So the reason why I'm so disappointed about this is multiple reasons. So we'll start with the obvious. I was very much looking forward to this fight, and I thought International Fight Week would be the perfect time for it. It would be absolutely unbelievable. And it would be just such a great climax. It would be so good for the company and for fans alike. This would be the first time we've finally seen Khamzat get a title shot. And as a massive Khamzat fan, that was so exciting. And to have it in Nevada and Las Vegas, everything would have been perfect. The second reason, just as a pure Khamzat fan, is we've been waiting, as I've mentioned in many videos, since 2020 for Khamzat to get his title fight. He was back then scheduled to fight Leon Edwards, back before Leon Edwards was the champion, but he was scheduled to fight Leon Edwards. God, how time flies, right? This is almost 4.5 years ago, but he was scheduled to fight Leon Edwards, and I believe he would have gotten that victory. And had he gotten that victory at the time, he would have probably had a title shot in 2021. So for Khamzat fans like me, we feel like this has been delayed so many years unnecessarily, and Khamzat had what he needed to have years ago to take the belt and retain the belt. So it just feels like talent wasted. So I guess we will have to wait, according to this report, if it is indeed true. I pray that maybe somehow they can make the price correct or get DDP to take this fight. But unfortunately, I do not think that's going to happen. And let me show you the second article to bolster this notion. Give me 1 second. I don't know what's going on. My computer's being a little glitchy. Hopefully this end video is not going to be too bad. 1 second. Let me share this screen here. So if we go back to UFC 300 from MMA Junkie, check this story out. So back in UFC 300, middleweight champion Dricus Du Plessis wasn't healthy enough to make UFC 300. I don't remember if they were I think they were trying to match him up against Izzy at this point. But it says Israel Adesanya, whom Du Plessis called out after he captured the middleweight title from Sean Strickland in January, revealed that Du Plessis rejected to fight him at UFC 300. So we remember last year they were scrambling, trying to get a title fight for UFC 300. They ended up with Alex Pereira. And of course, we had that great co-main with Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. And both were sensational fights. It's almost like Alex Pereira's incredible victory was overshadowed by Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway with a spectacular knockout at 4:59 in the 5th round. So it is what it is. But this ended up being a terrific card. But I guess they were trying to get Du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya to take a relatively short turnaround and headline this fight, which would have been incredible. But Dricus turned it down. I am sure the UFC was not happy about that. The guys that they love are the guys like Alex Pereira, who will step up on short notice no matter what, regardless of injuries, it seems. It seems he's fought his last several fights injured in some way. But they love those types of fighters because I think it makes everything much easier. So if they had this plan in place for a while and we're teeing it up for International Fight Week, Dricus comes along, has an injury, and now he's pulling out, I'm sure they're very upset because this could have been a big deal, especially a year where they're negotiating a new licensing deal. So that being said, I feel like Dricus is not somebody who's afraid to get the bosses upset to make sure he keeps his career on course. Other fighters, I think sometimes when they do step up and take these short notice fights or take these fights while injured, while it's great for the UFC, it could work out to be negative for them in the long run, especially if they suffer a loss due to that injury. They're not coming in full strength. And since DDP did it for UFC 300, which is arguably going to be one of the biggest events in the history of the UFC, I don't see why he wouldn't push back against the UFC right now and say, nah, I'm good. I'm going to wait because I want to be full strength. I'm not going to sacrifice my ability and going against the most dangerous opponent in the UFC and lose. So I feel like this is unfortunately true, and I don't think they're going to be able to convince DDP to fight. And it's just very, 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 very disappointing because I've been waiting and waiting. We've all been waiting for this fight, so it looks like it's still not going to happen anytime soon. Now, the one tiny little glimmer of hope, because MMA Joey was saying, hey, maybe it's not true. Maybe he's not injured. I think that ship has sailed. I feel like he is injured now that other outlets are republishing this, although it's not even that. It's just the fact that it comes from Kevin Iole, and I just don't think he would put out that type of information if it didn't have some truth to it. But the only reason why there's a glimmer of hope is, once again, the deal with ESPN in terms of that exclusive negotiating window is now passed. So now other people are coming to the UFC with offers. And I believe they have until the end of the year to sign with a new streaming platform or a multitude of streaming platforms. So maybe if there's enough incentive from the part of the UFC, maybe they start upping that offer to Du Plessis to be 2x, 3x, 4x, who knows if it's important enough. And maybe if Du Plessis is motivated enough by the financial incentive and the injury isn't too bad, there's a chance. There is a chance, because they haven't gone out and announced a replacement headliner. I think this is going to happen next week because we are getting close to just 2 months away, right? We're getting very close to that time. So I feel like they're going to need to announce this next week, especially to start getting people to purchase their travel plans and all those good things. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. The fact that they haven't announced anything means there's still a chance. So let's hope that they up the payment enough and we finally get to see this incredible battle. We finally get to see Khamzat Chimaev step up to the plate and take a shot at the title, which I believe he will be successful. And I still think the world of Dricus Du Plessis. I just think Khamzat is better. I hate to say it. Somebody's got to be better. I think it's Khamzat, and I think he's going to definitively get this victory in extraordinary fashion. But anyways, this is the news. This is the state of affairs right now. You guys know, if you watch the channel, that I'm a massive Khamzat fan. So I'm sure you understand how disappointed I am, but let's see, fingers crossed, and we shall find out soon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Would you be equally excited or somewhat equally excited for Ilya versus Islam for the main event, which is, I believe, what they're working on now? I definitely wouldn't be as excited, but still very excited for that fight. So we shall see what happens, but maybe the UFC can pull a rabbit out of their hat. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys so much, and make sure to click subscribe if you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA channel. See you in the next video. Take it easy.